Sports and culture. It was a relief. Many students stated that sports helped them make it through residential school. Christina Kimball attended the Roman Catholic school near the Pas, where she experienced physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. She believes that it was only through her involvement with sports that she survived. "I was very sports-oriented," she said. "I played baseball. Well, we played baseball and even hockey. We had a hockey team. That has benefited, but it benefited me in a way because I loved playing sports. Well, that's one way, too. I don't know how I did it, but I was pretty good in sports." Noel Starblanket said that at the Capel School, "I had some good moments, in particular in the sports side, because I really enjoyed sports. I was quite athletic, and basically that's what kept me alive. That's what kept me going, was the sports." At the Lestock School, Geraldine Shingoose took refuge in extracurricular activities. She said, "One of the good things that I would try to do to try to get out of just the abuse was I would join track meet, I was quite athletic in boarding school. And I also joined the band, and I played a trombone, and that was something that took me away from the school. And it was a relief." Paul Andrews spent 7 years at Grolier Hall in Inuvik. One of his strongest and most positive memories related to school was sports. "There were times when I felt dumb and stupid, but put me in a gym and there was not too many people better than I am." Recreational activities were always underfunded and undersupplied at the schools. A national survey of Indian Affairs schools, both day and residential, in 1956 concluded, quote, "In most of the schools there appeared to be little or no physical education program. A number of schools had no facilities for such activities. Basement areas were obviously designed for playing areas, but they were very inadequate and were utilized for storage or for assembly purposes. A large number of school sites were not properly cleared, graded, and prepared for playing purposes. Many were still in the wild state, others were overgrown with shrubs, thistles, grasses, and other weeds, presenting a very unkempt and neglected appearance." Oblate Provincial L. Popoor wrote to Indian Affairs about conditions at the Williams Lake, BC school in 1957. He pointed out that a year and a half earlier he had informed Indian Affairs about the need for a school gymnasium. At that time, he said, "The boys' playroom, a room about 35 by 60, was a scene of bedlam during recreation periods. There were about 150 boys trying to play. The mud they had brought in on their feet had dried, and there was so much dust in the room that you couldn't recognize a boy at the opposite end. Although the department had assured him the construction of a gymnasium would be a priority, nothing had been done, and the problem of playroom space is worse than ever," he said. Despite the lack of financial support, hockey teams from a number of schools achieved considerable success in the 1940s and 50s. Teams from Duck Lake and Capel in Saskatchewan in particular established enviable records. The Duck Lake school team, the St. Michael's Indians, won the championship of an 8-team league in the Rosthern area in 1946. In 1948, the same team, coached by Father G.M. Latour, won Northern Saskatchewan Midget Hockey Championship. The following year, it won the provincial championship. According to the Prince Albert Daily Herald, quote, "While the Duck Lake boys were outweighed in their midget series, they made it up in hockey know-how, skating ability, and shooting accuracy. Their drives from any angle had the Regina players scared and baffled at the same time." Among the players on the 1949 Duck Lake Provincial Championship team was Fred Sasakamoose, who went on to become the first status Indian to play in the National Hockey League. While hockey dominated boys' sports in most residential schools, British Columbia residential schools gained renown for their boxers. In 1947, the Roman Catholic school at Sechelt in northern Vancouver advertised for a volunteer to run a school athletics program. Navy veteran Alex Strain took on the job. At the time, the school had no recreation program, and no facilities. Under Strain's direction, the students cleared out a storage building and turned it into a gymnasium. Putting in 4 days of volunteer work a week, Strain created what Vancouver Sun reporter Gary Pratt described as, quote, the smoothest tumbling team in the province. He then established a boxing program at the school. The limits of the first ring were marked out by 4 rows of chairs. The first punching bag was a navy duffel bag filled with tumbling mats. After 2 years, Strain purchased a used truck and took the students on a boxing tour of Vancouver Island. After 4 years in existence, the team had won over 100 trophies. Sister John Lawrence made robes and shorts for each member of the team and also served as a trainer. Frederick Baker, the winner of the first National Tom Longboat Award, was a member of the Sechelt boxing team. Baker had won 3 championships in 1948, 2 in 49, 1 in 1950, and 1 in 1951. Other students sought solace in the arts. A number of former residential school students went on to prominent careers in the visual arts, including Alex Janvier, Jackson Beardy, Judith Morgan, and Norval Morisseau. Some, such as Beardy, were encouraged in their artistic endeavors by sympathetic staff. Like sports, cultural activities were underfunded. They were also often intended to encourage assimilation. In 1967, the students attending the Shingwauk, Ontario school put on a 4-act play called Arrow to the Moon. One act used a dialogue between an elder and a young man to contrast what were seen as the old and new ways to Aboriginal people. Billy Diamond played the role of the young man, who concludes at the scene's end, quote, the new ways show a way to work and live, but the old ways have shown us how to die. The performance was filmed and shown to the James Bay Cree, who refrained from making any public comment, but were shocked to discover the degree to which their children were being manipulated. Albert Canadien recalled in his memoirs from Ekaicho Hall, a few of the boys had guitars, and there were other instruments in the common room. Sometimes a few of the boys would get together and play to pass the time. John, the boys' supervisor, noticed this was going on and took an interest, encouraging us to play and sing. At first we got together just for fun, but eventually we formed a band. There were 5 or 6 of us. We called ourselves the Arctic Ramblers. We had guitars, fiddle, bass guitar, drums, and there was even a piano for a while. Unquote. They played at dances at the residence and in Hay River. Canadien went on to play in the Chieftones, a rock and roll band that toured extensively across North America. On the rinks, the athletic fields and parade grounds, or in the arts and handicraft rooms and on performance stages, many students found a way to express themselves and, through that, gained the opportunity to explore their own talents and sometimes other parts of the country or the world. Most importantly, they gained some confidence in their ability to achieve.